Hello.
Hello. How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm good too. I haven't asked you that in like how many ever
I know.
episodes? That's
It's been a
crazy.
hot second. Yeah.
Um, I'm Shivani.
I'm Miranda, and this is episode 31, I believe,
Yeah, you're right.
of Far From Normal.
Yay! You got it all right this time.
So, oh, we're gonna say
No,
something?
go ahead, go ahead, go
I
ahead.
hate Zoom. I hate Zoom so much.
I know.
So today is Valentine's Day, as you can probably tell by our very red outfits, because we're cute. We did not plan this, I swear. But we were thinking, interesting topic, Valentine's Day. Specifically, Valentine's Day is based off of a Christian holiday because Saint Valentine was a saint, obviously, and I don't know much about him. I should because you do.
I got you. I just did a post on it, but like I didn't do a whole bunch of research. I just kind of based it off of like one source, it was history.com, which probably isn't it's a start. It's kind of like a Wikipedia for history, but like, something. So basically, there's a lot of mystery around Saint Valentine, and there are like quite a few like legends and stories about like who he actually was and like what he actually did. I think the most popular story was about a guy named Saint Valentine, obviously, who I guess he was a priest, a white priest in the third century at some point, I think, like that. And then he there was an emperor, I think his name was King Claudius II. He decided that the soldiers were better off unmarried and without a family. So Saint Valentine was like, that's not great. Like, that's not right. Like, they should be able to have a family and, find their love. So he decided in secret he would just perform the marriages of young lovers. And so cute.
He's like the guy from Romeo and Juliet. Whatever the father's name.
Shoot, I don't remember either. Oh my goodness. But yeah, basically King Claudius found out about him performing marriages in secret, and had him beheaded. But there's also this other guy named Saint Valentine of Terni who others insisted that he was the one that was performing marriages in secret, so he was beheaded too. So there was like two different guys that were beheaded, but it was basically for that reason. Some other stories talk about like how Saint Valentine was somebody who I think helped Roman prisoners and people who were being tortured. But I think all the stories that we're told and are kind of like emphasized, they kind of like highlight the fact that Saint Valentine was a sympathetic, super loving person and just a romantic figure. So then that just kind of turned into Valentine's Day, and just to honor him as
fun.
A nice, loving person.
Valentine's Day is like no one even talks about that. Like I didn't know what the story. It's very Hallmark. Like it's become a very just a day to like capitalize on things. Like chocolates and gifts and yada yada. So I'm not huge on Valentine's Day. I'm not a huge Valentine's Day person because I feel like you can love people throughout the year. And I also think it's like a little bit of a Hallmark type scam. Me being a cynic. What are your thoughts?
Honestly, I don't really mind it. I mean, obviously, like the history is kind of like, whitewashed in a way. You focus on like Christian and like, Christian traditions, and I think it's based on like Roman traditions as well. But like, honestly, I like the sentiment. Like, I'm such a romantic person, and like, I think it's. I mean, obviously, every day should be like a Valentine's Day. You should show love to your loved ones every day. But like, to have like a day where you can go all out about it and buy people flowers and chocolates and stuff like that. I think that's really cute. And like, I mean, I really like I like the sentiment. I like, just going all out for the person that you love, even though that should be every day. But like, I like the idea. I like the idea of it. And, but yeah, I think it definitely could you could see some improvement in different ways, like as in including other traditions that are not completely whitewashed. Like, why don't you include like, I don't know, Indian traditions as well to show love? And like, we show love in different ways. So like, why not make it like a global thing rather than
that's smart.
But
you got brain cells.
Yeah, but that's about it. Yeah. What about you from like a romantic standpoint? Do you like the idea of like Valentine's Day, or do you think it's just like nah, that just doesn't?
I think I'm too cynical because I'm very single. I think I'll be more. I'd probably enjoy it more if I had a significant other. I had a lot of fun last year on Valentine's Day because my family came to town because I'm in Butler, and they came and visited, and we got breakfast and stuff, and that was fun. And they were gonna come actually this week, but they couldn't, and I couldn't because I was busy. So
yeah, gotcha.
Yeah. But you said something that I was gonna like spark a conversation off of, which is fabulous because I don't have to bring it up now. Whitewashing of Valentine's Day. So I obviously can talk about how I feel about that, but when you said that, do you want to elaborate on what you're thinking or what you meant?
I think I kind of just covered it in like what I was talking about earlier, but basically, they emphasize that it was like a Christian priest and someone who was white, and they like kind of just based it off of that specific story. And that's kind of like, you see that like all throughout history. It's very whitewashed. Even like, in our past episodes, we talk about slavery, and we usually see that through a white's perspective. We don't see it from a black enslaved person's perspective. And their story is very different from like, how a white person would see it. So it's very important to like get the story from like both sides, and especially the black enslaved person's perspective, because that there's so much in there, so much depth, complexity, and just so much you have to like dig into to really understand what went down. So in the same way, I think Valentine's Day it's whitewashed because we focus on the white aspects of it, and like maybe there's like some other kind of Valentine's Day that is celebrated in another part of the world that we don't really know about, that doesn't go by like Valentine's Day, but like celebrates love and showing affection to loved ones. So like
yeah, definitely agree with that concept. I just Googled because I was curious, like how many, because most saints that I've learned about in my life, because I grew up Catholic, so we actually worship saints a little bit. They're all white, and I was curious, like when we had our first like African American or Black saint. Yeah, so I wanted to Google it. I'm not finding much though.
Yeah. I know during the Great Revival, I'm in a history class. I'm gonna get my dates mixed up, but it's like I think it's like the earliest 1700s, 1725 to 1815. I want to say.
Okay.
The Great Revival occurred during the American Revolution, probably like a decade into the American Revolution. Okay. So during the Great Revival, they were trying to spread the gospel, evangelicalism. So basically, from a white's perspective, they just wanted to spread the gospel and do that in any way they can. So they decided to include Black enslaved individuals. So that was kind of like when the concept of like Black preachers and like Black churches, semi-autonomous, autonomous, and biracial churches came about. And so that's kind of like where that's where like some of the first Black preachers and Black worshipers and like came kind of started. But I don't know if that helps at all.
So basically Westerners kind of forced religion onto them?
Yeah, eventually. I mean, it kind of started with like the transatlantic slave trade, where they they brought slaves from Africa into like parts of the U.S. and to South America and to Europe. And religion and slavery were largely interconnected. So kind of forcing their religion onto African Americans was like the norm. And so they kind of ignored their own traditions. Like African Americans, they come with like a lot of culture and a lot of traditions. They whites, they didn't really understand that, and they actually thought that African Americans were like lost and they didn't have their own lives. They basically saw them as like inhuman, like not human. And so I know there was I know like from that there was one enslaved individual named Omar ibn Said, who
is he the one you posted about?
Yes, yes, he was. He was a man of very strong Islamic faith. And so when he was sold into slavery, he was brought to North America, and I think it was in Boston, Massachusetts, maybe. But he I know his owners tried to basically just like, you know, force him to learn like Christianity and like the Bible and stuff like that. And there's been a lot of debate around him because he was a man of strong Islamic faith, but then there was debate about whether he kept that Islamic faith or basically just abandoned it for Christianity and if that was like a problem or not. But from some of the research that I've done on some of the readings, he basically just took Christianity and made it his own and basically saw Christianity through a Islamic perspective and kind of like blended the two and conflated them. So like that's been really interesting. And so it's like really
do you I don't know if you know enough
yeah.
to like express like how he blended them because I'm just curious, but if you don't, that's fine.
Nah, so like he came to North America as usually the enslaved were not literate, so like their only way to become
Right.
literate and to communicate with other like Americans at the time or yeah like North Americans at the time. Gotcha. Yeah, their only way to communicate and like understand and like, you know, just adjust to like their surrounding was through learning to read and write through the Bible. So that eventually made them Christian. Omar, yeah. So then Omar ibn Said, he was already literate in Arabic. In
Arabic.
Because that
is it Arabic? Sorry. It doesn't matter. Anyway.
I don't know. I always say it wrong, and I have to look it up every time. It's actually like a problem. But anyway, I'll get it right next time. But yeah, that was like the language of the gods for Islam. So yeah, he already knew how to read and write in that language. So basically, he took his faith and he was curious. I think part of it was out of curiosity. He wanted to figure out what Christianity was like and understand the Bible. So, yeah. And I think I think he like basically just saw like similarities and was like trying to make like you know, connections. So he would often place like Jesus, like in Messiah, and like other Islamic concepts, and he would just take them both and he adopted them both. Basically he just used both of them for like thanking the gods for thanking God for his environment. He basically just like made sure, how do I explain this? I'm running out of words. I'm sorry. He basically just like whatever situation he was in, he thanked God for whatever good came into his life and whatever bad came into his life because he was very religious.
Which is like something all religions can do. Like they're all very interwoven.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool. It's very unfortunate how Westerners it's typically Westerners because Westerners are very self-absorbed, power hungry in history at least, and debatably now, but with history for sure, because like Westerners just step into a country and they just assume that what they're doing is right and what the people that are doing in the country is wrong and less than. So it's unfortunate that like we as a country and a society kind of like stole people away from their religion and their culture.
Yeah. Oh no, for sure. And it's crazy because you still kind of see that now. We're still very like ego centered. And we're very self-centered and we're like, US is the best and we know like, you know, we know what we're doing. And it's crazy how like that history like still carries on till now, even though we've made like some progress. It's still very much there and very much like engraved in our like society and our lives. And it's so weird. It's so weird. And it's just like it's taken me like, I don't know, 18, 19 years to figure out, wow, there's so much more out there than, you know, just like the American way of doing things. Even though like I'm like Indian, I feel like I was very much like whitewashed in a way because like, you know, the people surrounding me, like I don't know, they were not very diverse, I guess. So and they usually, I don't know, we never like really focused on like celebrating certain like other traditions and like other things. It was all very focused on like, you know, white
Right.
like established hallmark things,
Yeah, and you do better, like, I feel like because of white privilege, like if you act more whitewashed, tend to be like to treat you better or like stuff like that. Like I know like in elementary school, people used to make fun of like Indians for like smelling like curry or something.
Yeah.
Like people stereotype and yeah.
Yeah. No, it's like I'm like happy that it's changing now because a lot of people are, trying to bring in more cultures and more traditions and like make their individuality and their culture and their like make that more prominent. But like before in like the past decade it's changed a lot. It's kind of crazy though. Yeah, because I remember like having friends like just trying to act white all the time and it like wasn't cool to be anything other than white. And it was it's very weird thinking back on it now. It's just like why I don't know. But
we're talking about in my GHS class, which is a history class, a very similar thing about religion and like Westerners stepping into an area and like assuming that they're better and trying to like force their opinions because it's about the Middle East, which is all that happened in the Middle East is just Westerners being like, look at these Arabic people, look at how much worse than us they are, which is not true. And like I don't know how much you know about it, so I can kind of like monologue for a second, and then you can jump in. With like the Sikhs, Picot Agreement, I think is how you pronounce it. After World War One, France and Britain straight up like drew the map of the Middle East however they wanted to. So like people like so like they split up like religions and cultures and all that stuff, which is why the Middle East is always fighting. And then like whenever Middle Easterners, this is another thing. Sorry. First, I'll let you share your opinions on that, and then I'll jump into the second thing. Go ahead.
That's crazy. Like wow. I mean, I didn't know that happened. I knew that they faced a lot of like discrimination, and people usually just kind of brush them off to the side. And I did not know that. Wow. Yeah, that's all my thoughts right now. But keep going.
Second thing, Orientalism. I think we've talked about this like once, but Orientalism is different than like the Orient or people who live in Orient areas. Orientalism is the Western definition of people who live in those cultures. Yes. So like Westerners like English and Americans and British, French, sorry, I already said English. They go to like the Middle East or like Asian countries and they like see what they see and they're like, here's what I saw with no like research and no talking to locals. They're just like, oh look, locals are praying. And they just like write shit and it's not accurate and it's discriminatory.
Yeah, I vaguely remember learning about Orientalism at freshman year. I think I took a class who was like religious worldviews and ethical perspectives, and we were talking about like, the East and how it was like just basically defined as Orientalism, and it just like was very general and it failed to like describe like the actual like historical context and like all the culture that was involved. And it's really sad. It's kind of sad because you just like generalize it all. Yeah, I lost my train of thought, but I was going to say a lot more about that. But I vaguely remember that, but it is really sad. It is so sad.
It is. And like Christianity was forced onto a lot of these people too, like when they wanted to have different beliefs. And if like people from Europe come to these countries, they're like, oh, you have a prayer bell that goes off a couple times. I don't know how many. I don't know enough to know how many times a day. I am sorry, but they're like, you have a prayer bell. Oh no, that's not Christian. Like, or like, how dare you like wear a headscarf? Like, oh my god, what? Which we talked about last week for our feminist episode, but it drives me. I mean,
yeah, I know. And like you would think that like someone who actually cared would like go back and actually try to figure it out, but like no, like they're like they just stay in their lane. Like what?
They really just go there and then they're like, oh, cool, Westerners are superior. I was right. Let me go tell my friends.
Right. Right. It's weird. I mean, maybe there is like historical, like, I don't know, evidence of someone actually figuring it out, but maybe it wasn't like mainstream, if that makes any sense. Like maybe it's like hidden and they're like,
Probably.
oh, well, I can't like get anyone else to listen to me, so I'll just like keep it to myself. And then
Right.
like, it's
It's
just,
probably it's probably not mainstream because people don't want to believe it. They
that's
want to
true.
believe that we're superior.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Very true. Very, very true.
Like whenever you talk to, there's some people that you can talk to in the US about like the US being bad, and they'll be like, but at least we don't have a dictator. And like, yes, we don't have a dictator. Great. But we screwed over those countries many a time, and it's probably our fault that they have a dictator. So,
Yeah, that's true. And it's kind of sad because like, kind of like going off of that, like because like they don't understand like other like cultures and other traditions and other like how other countries like do things. They tended to like brush off anything that doesn't make sense to them. And like, I know we like wrote this down, like kind of like Asian medicines and like the way like the natural like medicines and like herbs, like even like today there's lots of judgment about like people using like natural oils to like, clear your like acne or like put in your hair to make your hair grow out, like, like coconut oil. There's a lot of crazy stuff on coconut oil. I mean, I've also like been into like done a lot of research on like skincare and stuff like that, and I know that coconut oil, I mean, like a lot of like dermatologists are very at least from what I've seen, they're very like science oriented, and they don't like to blend like natural and science. And I understand that, but like also they like kind of, there's like a very negative connotation when you think about like natural herbs and like natural things that can, have been used for centuries in the past to like help heal people. And it's like that never even existed. And I'm just like, how do you think these people survived? And like, to like brush off any of these like natural remedies, it's just like you're erasing like however many centuries they've been using those to like actually heal people. And I think it would be like really helpful to like, do a blend of them. Obviously, like science is we very much need science, and we've had so much progress and advancement with science, and it's very, very relevant.
yeah.
But I definitely think like a blending of them would be very helpful too. So I don't know. What are
Probably
your
another part
thoughts?
of the Western superiority. Like, oh, it's not our medicine, therefore it's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like people like refuse to try meditation because they're like, this isn't what I'm used to. It's wrong. Like, yeah, that's
Yeah.
my only thought on it.
Yeah, it's like, it's crazy like how that like that's all very westernized too, because like, like yoga has been turned into like something that's not like, it's very like, it looks cool, but they like fail to recognize like the spiritual
It got
aspect of it.
whitewashed.
Yeah, it did get whitewashed, and it's kind of sad because like I remember taking like yoga classes when I was little, because my parents would put me into it, and I would like, follow like an actual like yoga instructor like from who's been exposed to like practices in like India and stuff like that. And they're very, very like connected to the spiritual aspect and like the physical aspect, because you're basically just like aligning your mind and your body.
Right.
And there's like so many amazing things that are like just completely brushed under the rug because people just like how it looks and like
Right.
how it makes them look cool, And it's just like, I mean, there's so much, I mean, it's okay. I mean, honestly, I'm not super offended by it, but like, I think it would be like nice to like know where it came from, and to like know like how much it means to other people sometimes too. And like, I mean, I'm all for like, having other people like tap into our culture and like show like culture appreciation, not appropriation, but appreciation.
Ooh, damn.
I think it.
Okay.
But yeah, for sure. I think it's kind of sad because you don't know, you never know. But yeah.
How do you think we can prevent crossing the line between appreciation and appropriation?
I wrote a paper about this freshman year. Oh goodness. But
And I think
honestly,
you have a good answer. Sweet. I'm excited.
no, I actually like, it's not a good answer because
Oh, okay.
my paper basically just argued that it was subjective. because like not everyone agrees on like what culture appreciation and appropriation is.
That's true.
And I mean, on like social media sometimes, like usually the people who are saying it's appropriation aren't actually associated with the culture. They're just like, oh, that's appropriation because it's like,
what's your subjective opinion then? If it's subjective, what's your subjective opinion?
Well, I don't know. I feel like it like varies from like from situation to situation. Cause like I said that I didn't mind people practicing yoga. I think it's amazing. I think it's awesome. I think that people like adopting yoga and using it to like better their lives, better like their physical health and their mental health. I think that's amazing and they should keep doing that. And I have nothing against that. And as long as they're not like making fun of my culture or like anybody else's culture, I have no problem with that. Yeah, and as long,
is dressing up, if I, meeting myself, I'm gonna go for like extremes and then back away. If I dress up as Pocahontas for Halloween, that's cultural appropriation, right?
I don't know, man. I don't know. I feel like it varies. Like it's a terrible answer. Because like also Pocahontas is a Disney yes. princess. So like that's also like another aspect of it. Like you could just be dressing as Pocahontas like for like Disney's sake.
Yeah.
Because you want to like, I don't know, make fun of anything or just like, portray yourself and
so
like
if you're doing things with wrong things with good intent, it's fine.
What do you mean by wrong things? Like
if I was doing it just for the Disney's sake, would it be fine? Like even though I'm technically doing something that could be considered cultural appropriation by some people, which means it's probably wrong. If I'm doing it like, for a good reason, is it fine? It's a really ethical question. So you don't have to have an answer. I was just curious.
I mean, and also like you were talking about this like earlier, I think you like were posting about it on Instagram or something about like how Disney is also like very sketchy and very sus and like, there's like so much going on down there and like Disney's past and like how they like, how Disney stole a bunch of work and like how it's not great. So like that in of itself can be a problem because, Disney isn't great. So if you're like,
avoiding the that question, with like, are you, Shivani?
I don't know how to answer it. I really don't. I don't know because it probably, a lot of people have a lot of different opinions and I just kind of go from situation to situation. I don't think about it in advance. Like when it comes up, then I'll think about it. But like, I'm not like, well, if this person does this, then automatically I hate you. Like, no, that's not how it works. Like I have to like understand what you were doing, what your intentions were and how you're doing it and like what situation is going on that you're doing whatever you're doing. Like you just, I don't know. And like something else that I wrote about in my paper was that like it can be decided like it usually isn't an individual like there's two aspects of it. It's also like a very subjective like person to person thing where like someone might find something like cultural, like you're appropriating a different culture, but then also like there's also the aspect where like it's also based on like a community decision. So like a bunch of people can have an opinion on it, but then also like the individual can have an opinion on it. I don't know if that makes any sense, but like it's just so complex. It's just very, very complex.
Give me an example.
Okay, so like that like I enjoy like K-pop and like K-drama and Korean culture because it's just I like it. It's fun. It's like it's really cool. I think it's really interesting and I've done a lot of research on it too. So basically I did some research on, I think it's called the Hallyu wave, where basically a lot of Korean culture basically just became really, really popular. And so I know like it was like sort of like a community like just community decision. Like I might be getting this wrong, but this is basically just what I read off of off of an article. This slipped. But yeah, basically like I think it was like a large majority of people in Korea believe that like the spread of their culture and like it becoming like sort of like popular and maybe a little slightly like westernized was a good thing because like Korea wasn't as like popular or like really known before that. So they all were like, oh, this is great. Now people are like know like that Korea is like a country, and like, you know, they feel like a sense of like, you know, pride and like nationalism and like, you know, what that sort of thing. And so like a large majority felt that way. But then there are like people that are like, well, you know, they're not really appreciating our culture. So like, I don't know if this is like a good thing. Yeah. So like, depending on like the majority, that kind of depends.
Didn't you say that like a lot of K-pop groups now have like non-Korean people too in them?
They're starting to. This is I don't know too much about this. Obviously, I'm not Korean, but but like I know like some groups have been. I know there has been. I think it was a Black American who joined a Korean group, but I think she faced like a lot of discrimination stuff that she like eventually left. So like I think they're trying to become more diverse. Okay. But I think Korea also has issues of its own where like they're also like very homogeneous. Is that the right word? They're like very homogeneous, and they're also quite conservative too. Like they're definitely not as like liberal as like the US. Right. So like a
lot of Asian countries are.
Yes, yeah, they are. And so I think that like kind of plays a role in it. So what was your question? I'm sorry, I like lost it.
I was just talking about K-pop groups having people who aren't Korean.
Oh, gotcha. They're starting to become more diverse. I know within K-pop groups they have East Asians who aren't from Korea originally. Okay. Yeah. Like they might have like people from like LA or like China or like Vietnam, but they're all like East Asian like ethnically.
Got you.
Yeah, that's about all I got to say about that. Like, if I did more research on it, I'd be able to tell you more, but I really don't know, and I don't want to speak on stuff I don't know. So.
Very spur of the moment question.
Yeah, no, I enjoy like their culture, but like sometimes I feel like the stuff that I consume, like K-dramas and K-pop, is also like westernized in a way because they're trying to appeal to like international audience. So like I might not be actually getting the entire story, and I'm probably just like I'm only consuming like I'm not actually consuming like their culture. I'm just consuming like what they want us to see, you know? Or
I feel like most cultures at this point have a lot of, you know, because Westerners are very targeted in the media. And like even if you go to like a news site like BBC, which is in Britain, like a lot of the news stories are America. Like it's everything's very US focused.
It is. Yeah. I mean, that's like kind of like how you get yourself out there. Like if you're popular in the US, and like most likely you're gonna be like, you know, like I feel like in the US, like if you're able to like, I don't know, get yourself out there in the US, you'll have a better chance of like, you know,
going global.
Yes, because like it's yeah, there we go. Yeah, because it's like like, the US has a lot of power in that sense. So like it's kind of sad because like other countries are kind of like forced to like appeal to like a Western audience because that's where a majority of like, you know, like the views and like popularity come from. But like also I haven't done that a lot of research on that, because you can probably become really popular within your own country and like just not, and do really well for yourself, but like just not be known in the US.
Yeah.
But I know that like, you know, like the Grammys and like, you know, all those like crazy like shows and stuff like that are like really popular like globally. So like I feel like people would probably aim to like get themselves out there in the US, because it just like gets yourself like you were exposed to a larger audience.
Okay.
That makes any sense? I think of BTS when I say that, because like it took them so long to like, I mean, because a lot of people talk about how they were like basically scammed, or like they just didn't get what they deserved. I think it was last year. I don't know what year it was, but they were nominated to be in the Grammys, and they're supposed to win something, but they didn't because there was something going wrong with like the votes, and like people didn't want them to be there because they were Asian and not Western. So like there's a lot of stuff going on there.
But a little screwed up.
Yeah, they are. Yeah. So that's a thing. But Yeah, we're basically out of time, but this was really interesting. Like, I kind of want to talk about it more. Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
We talked about a lot. We went like all over the place, but it was
I
all
feel
kind
like
of related.
it all had like a theme.
Yeah.
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 We didn't really stick to Valentine's Day, but we stuck to Westernization.
Yes, we did. It's beautiful. Do you have any closing thoughts?
I don't think so.
Okay. Well, this episode will be coming out after Valentine's Day, but we hope you guys had a good Valentine's Day and, like, you know, felt that
love
love.
You guys.
Sending you lots of love. Woo. All right. So if you guys want to reach out to us, you can email us at farfromnormalpodcast2020@gmail.com. We have an Instagram at farfromnormalpodcast. Also have like a Google form on the Instagram where you can just type in your thoughts, any questions, concerns, or comments, and yeah, I'll send it to us and we'll see it and we'll respond to it. And yeah, we'll hope you have a good day. Thank you for listening.
Like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe. All right. Bye.
Bye.